Sonic X Episode 67. It's sweet that Sonic was sitting with cheese on his lap, and he had his hand on it like a pet dog. Sonic doesn't feel like enough of a real person in the show, especially with his weird voice, so he needs humanizing moments like this a lot more often. And not just in this show either. Tails increases the speed of the spaceship, and the Metrix starts firing at them, so Tails decides to change course. I kinda wish they weren't constantly saying spaceship driving technobabble all the time. Even Amy Rose is doing that. You might as well not have Sonic characters at all in these scenes. Tails is suspicious since the Metrix have stopped chasing them, and Chris can't detect them. He wonders if something's jamming their scanners, and Knuckles thinks they should turn around instead of going into a trap. Sonic outright hopes they get attacked. How is Knuckles the idiot again? One of the Metrix minions says that they want an amusing challenge against Sonic, showing a parallel with him. They want to send a robot after Sonic. Tails sounds naive when he says happily that the Metrix have changed their mind about jamming. At least zooming in on the craters isn't making it not blurry anymore. Tails realizes the craters on the planet were made recently, and the Metrix had kept attacking the planet until it was lifeless. Again, I have a hard time believing this would happen. How could they rule over the people there then? We're not told that the people of that planet were warring with the Metrix and trying to eliminate them. Chris says this chip's sensors have detected a bunch of Chaos Emeralds, and Cream gets suspicious. Tails says that the sensors are detecting 500 of them, and Chris says the new fake emeralds have to be a lot more advanced since they're picking them up. So how could the heroes ever know where to get the emeralds next? Cosmo translates the generic villain dialogue on the screen. Black Narcissus is inviting them to their base for a challenge. Narcissus isn't a plant, by the way. That name sucks. He wouldn't go by that. And Amy hypocritically calls Knuckles too hot-headed for the mission. And Knuckles getting angry is supposed to prove Amy right, even though Amy is exactly as hot-headed as Knuckles. It's really an informed flaw that she's apparently supposed to be better than him. I would say it's a creator's pet moment, but that would imply her character was treated with respect and dignity at all. Cosmo then gets into his spaceship alone, being sneaky, and hopes they'll forgive her for deceiving them, so the fact that she lied about there being more to the message was foreshadowing. Knuckles is suspicious, and then Sonic wonders where Cosmo is. Knuckles says there's too many of them to shoot down. I can only assume this is true because the animators are too lazy to show us the things the heroes are constantly blathering about, in favor of showing their faces. Is that why the technobabble is so boring? I don't see any Metrix around the ship. Cosmo is told to proceed through the tunnel, and she wants to know the truth about her family and the Metrix. She's called naive, and of course she was only brought here to be a prisoner. Tails translates the untranslated dialogue that Lord Cosmo, and yet Cream immediately says that only Cosmo understands the writing. Sonic reveals that Chris is gone too, since the only one who could hack other than Tails to hide Cosmo's escape was Chris. Chris shows up with Cosmo. Why wasn't he with her in the first place? And she naturally apologizes for getting involved in this mess. Cosmo starts crying since Chris is being so nice to her when she got him in trouble, and he says that she reminds him of himself when he was younger, as in getting someone in trouble. He throws a flash grenade and takes off, but that really wouldn't work since there's obviously only one way they'd all go when running up to the spaceship. He should have brought a bomb and destroyed the bad guy right there. Chris presses a button that causes the spaceship to shoot a laser to break down the wall in front of them. That was badass, so of course it wasn't that easy. The bad guy knocks him down easily. Apparently he stabbed him, according to the Japanese version. No wonder they took that out. For fuck's sake, really? Knuckles then gets the cannon ready to fire. Why can't they just immediately cut to Sonic being launched out of it? The cannon finally blasts Sonic at the base, and I have to wonder how Sonic isn't horribly injured from hitting all the stuff at full speed. But somehow he was fine. He says he's around a bunch of fake emeralds, and suddenly he doesn't feel so great after shivering. Is this leading to what I think? I've heard about one of the arc's plot points and how people bitch about it never showing up again. The bad guy wants to collect data on Sonic's strength and speed. Shouldn't it be obvious he wants to use it to make a robot? The bad guy shows Cosmo and Chris trapped in a bubble, with Chris being knocked out. Why can't Sonic just spin dash straight through this guy? He's naturally upset with being taunted that gutsily. I don't blame him for shaking and sitting on the ground. He says he's never seen Cosmo look so scared, and it's upset that Chris was passed out. Thing is though, his friends have been held hostage and made scared thousands of times, and he's never gotten this upset about before. This made more sense in the Japanese version where Chris was stabbed, but it sucked even on a logic standpoint, because how did Chris not bleed out after all that time? And that was obviously too dark. Anyways, he turns black colored. So this is finally when he turns Dark Sonic. Just like how Sonic turned evil as his super form in Fleetway. So I love this so much. It makes way more sense for his super form to be violent and destructive, so it comes at a price. To balance a get out of jail free card. Plus, Chaos Energy is known for being evil and destructive. It makes more sense that his super form would be negative, since he'd only be using it as a desperate last resort. And naturally he'd be scared, upset, and angry at the bad guy when he turns super, because he's backed into a corner. He destroys the robots really quickly and easily. Then Eggman tells him to settle down, literally a sentence later. Why? He was being threatened by robots. And I'm expected to see Eggman as the calm, good person who's disappointed in him for his temper. What? And already Sonic is back to normal. Well, that was disappointing. There should have been enough robots to fill the whole room. But even then, he would have destroyed them in 2 seconds anyways. It missed an opportunity to have him kick some serious ass. But sadly, I can't imagine someone as powerful as a Super Sonic not winning in seconds anyways. So I guess it had to last a tiny amount of time, but Fleetway didn't have it last a tiny amount of time. Rouge wrecks the machine that made the fake Chaos Emeralds, as opposed to Dark Sonic. Where did Eggman even come from anyways? Now, the reason this Dark Sonic thing makes sense is that 1, Tails clearly told us that there's negative super forms, like he showed us Perfect Chaos, and Cosmo didn't want to be like that. Not to mention SA1 talked about the negative and positive energy thing. And 2, Sonic was upset. And 3, he was surrounded by really accurate fake emeralds. More than enough to give him enough power. Remember when he warped with a fake emerald? So there. Eggman says his infamous line about how hurting people is wrong. To be fair, he's had character development, become nicer recently. He even said that he didn't really want to destroy Tails. He could have killed Amy in her spaceship, but he didn't. And he had Sonic unconscious in his base for days without killing him, or putting nanites in his body that would blow up if he didn't do what he wanted. So it's not like it comes out of nowhere at this point that he's not that evil anymore. This is Season 3, not Season 1. And at least it's refreshing after 6 billion Robotniks in the franchise that are exactly as one-dimensionally evil as each other. I also thought it was cool that the bad guy got beaten up by Eggman's robot sidekicks, but I really wish it wasn't in freeze frames and we had actual animation for it. Because it would have been way cooler to see Deco and Boko kick this jerk otherwise. Logically, there's no way this guy should still be functioning after Sonic went to a dark super form right in front of him. Logically, he would have been completely dismantled in seconds, and he would have deserved it for being such a jerk. Basically, this episode was about Cosmo being lured to the bad guy to be a damsel in distress hostage with Chris, so he can make Sonic fight some robots. And since there were tons of fake emeralds, so good that they even fooled Tails' sensors, it does make sense that they'd have Chaos Energy of their own that would eventually add up to being enough for a super form. They needed a real Chaos Emerald to make all those fake emeralds, so obviously they got the Chaos Energy from that. Tails also very obviously told us about negative super forms when he was alone with Cosmo earlier. Combine that with Sonic being clearly upset at how awfully his friends were being treated, and apparently Chris was stabbed in the Japanese version, somehow still alive, and it's idiotic to say that this came out of nowhere, with all of that build-up, especially since the evil super form was already done in Fleetway. It was done much better there because Sonic stayed in that form for more than just 3 measly seconds. I refuse to believe he'd need to go super to smash those robots to bits, considering all the giant robots he blew up in just one hit in earlier seasons. I could imagine that he would be able to spin dash through them regardless. And it pissed me off that Eggman lectured Sonic about his temper, when literally all Sonic did was beat a few robots in exactly the same way he always does. It's not like he tore them to shreds and was stomping on them. It's not like he destroyed the bad guy taunting him, which logically he would have done. But somehow he didn't, so that Eggman's robots could beat him up. That's what sucks about the scene. That it lasted like 2 seconds, one sentence in my review, to the point where I'm certain 4Kids did some cuts for censorship, and Eggman somehow acted like Sonic was in the wrong. And instead of Sonic completely destroying Eggman for that, he just magically went back to his normal form so Eggman would survive. If there's one person that would never survive an encounter with an evil Super Sonic up close, it would have to be Eggman. Not to mention with all the times Eggman's been shown to be a dirty coward, like even scared of Sonic in his normal form, there's no way that he would be calm enough to be brave enough to reason with him and talk him out of the super form when he was in an evil super form. He would just be screaming and running away. It's not like the concept of an evil super form is dumb. You've clearly never read Fleetway if you think that, because it was pretty cool how it was done there. Aside from the running wild story anyways. Obviously Sonic would never be written to actually kill or injure his friends, so all of the tension there is artificial. It's stupid that Sonic doesn't have an evil super form, because how would he have positive emotions and nothing but when he's backed into a corner and has to go super as a last resort? I mean, sure, I guess because he's full of confidence, but why would he be confident when he has to do something as a last resort? And is scared and in danger and angry at the bad guy. It makes more sense that he would have a negative super form. That anyone would. And it's less of a get out of jail free card because it comes out of price. The only thing confusing and stupid about this gutsy scene is that rather than Sonic going super with the negative power of the emeralds because the heroes were visibly injured in front of him, instead in the dub, he just got mad because Cosmo was scared as usual and Chris was knocked out. Which, newsflash, he was knocked out into someone's arms when Shadow beat him up. But Sonic had already turned good Super Sonic when he actually saw that. But the fact remains, he didn't get furious when he saw Chris knocked out last time. I could understand him going Dark Super a lot better if Chris looked more visibly injured than he was, like in the Japanese version, but instead he was just taking a nap. It'd make way more sense if Tails was the one who was hurt. I love that Sonic's being humanized as a believable character to the point where he'd realistically get really upset at his friends being treated like dirt, instead of always being cocky. For the most part, Season 3 just has him be an overly cheerful, adventurous idiot who doesn't take enough seriously. It makes me feel detached from him in this season. But it's absolutely unacceptable that he barely spent any time as Dark Sonic at all, and didn't do anything but destroy a few robots, while somehow keeping the bad guy alive. He only did like 1 sentence's worth of things. And since I've heard that he never goes Dark Sonic again, they really did completely waste the concept. And that's a shame. SDC did this idea right. And even the games have done this better in Sonic and the Secret Rings, because he spent an entire boss fight punching the bad guy's lights out. And the bad guy was Super 2, so he was tough enough to not die in one hit to the Super form. They could have justified Sonic being Dark Sonic for a long time if they had either that, or a ton of robots to fight, like with SDC. A negative super form for Sonic is way more interesting and gutsy, so it's a shame that only SDC has properly used this concept to its full potential, because they had every reason to try it. The fact that this great idea was wasted so badly is just a testament to how clueless the writing of this arc is. Because this is just barely worse than when Sonic had tons of super forms in Archie, and they're all wasted on one panel each, where they just ran around. Like Eco Sonic, Polar Sonic, and Solar Sonic. Great new ideas, but they were totally wasted. And if Flynn was really a brilliant writer who actually loved the comic for what it was, he would have brought them back and used them properly in stories, with proper justification and their own abilities. Instead of destroying Knothole, destroying Echidna Paulus, and trying to kill or cripple all the freedom fighters that weren't from the games.